Peace, y'all. What's going on? It's your guy, Rashawn, aka Lookup. Welcome to the Space Invaders TV. Today, we just gonna jump right into it, man. I ain't gonna hold y'all too long. I want to talk about 6 companies that have paid out the most in this ransomware attack. And obviously, this isn't nothing new. It's been going on for quite some time. The more notable one for everybody is when the Colonial Pipeline that just happened like a month ago. You know, that was the one that you know, that everybody, you know, when you start hearing about them ransomware attacks. And the ransomware attack is nothing but like hackers hacking into your system and to these corporations and hacking into their systems and just freezing everything, you know what I mean, that they have, all their, you know, the assets, inventory, just freezing things, you know what I mean. They can go in and do so much, you know, they're in there, you know, it's like it's identity theft. They straight went in and they're in there and they got all the identity of that company. They have every piece of information that is needed to be known, financial to employees' information, you know. And it's crazy now, you know, they throw titles on things like this. And you think back to when who was that? Was that Experian that had the issue with everyone's information being, you know, a lot of people information was compromised through Experian, the credit bureau. You know what I'm saying? It makes you think that it's like that was like an attack. You know what I mean? And it makes you start to think about other instances you might have heard. So Colonial Pipeline was the latest. Well, that was the more notable one. And then there's another one that came right behind it that no one ever heard of now. The Colonial Pipeline payout. We're gonna start with them. The Colonial Pipeline, when that hit, that was a $4.4 million ransom. You know, that these hackers wanted, you know, in order to release back their information. So it's like they went in and stole their information and then selling it back to them for $4.4 million. And you know, so when that happened with Colonial Pipeline, that hit the whole, you know, the southeast, the northeast. It hit hard because that pipeline runs a good ways coming down from Texas. Let's see here. Another one that happened after the Colonial. Now, the Colonial Pipeline, as I said, that was $4.4 million, and then you had JBS. JBS is a meat packaging, a meat plant down in Minnesota. And JBS, which they say JBS is the world's largest meat supplier, and they got a ransomware attack, and it was $11 million. And Target, so let me see here. The company confirmed making the payment in a statement Wednesday, saying it did so after most of its plants started operating again last week. The company consulted with its own tech workers and external cybersecurity experts, it said, and decided to pay to make sure no data was stolen. This was a very difficult decision to make for our company and for me personally. JBS USA CEO Andre Nigraria, if I'm saying it right, said in a statement, JBS was hit by a ransomware attack last week that temporarily halted operations at its 9 beef processing plants in the United States and caused disruptions at other facilities. The FBI attributed the attack to a Russian-linked ransomware group known as both Revel and let me get this right, Sandenopi, if I'm saying it right. So they're saying there's some Russians that are attacked, you know, their system, and caused a ransomware attack on them, and you know they wanted a ransom of $11 million, and they had to pay it out. It's like they go in there and they get you by the nuts, and they got access to your employees' information, everything, like personal, not just the company itself. It's anything that has to do with that company. Anybody that possibly do business with that company, your information is compromised. So they have to pay that, you know, because you're looking at things like, if I don't pay this, and then other things trickle down from this, resulting to our employees and other things, this can cost us more, you know, be in lawsuits. You know what I'm saying? So these companies go in and they gotta do it, you know, and not just for that, just period, you know. So it's like they go in, they get about a nuts with that thing, man. So you got that, and then you had CWT Global. Now let me give you I gotta give you the dates on. So you know, Colonial Pipeline happening in May of 2021. This with JBS. I want to say that happened. They're calling it a week ago. So JBS happened pretty much the last week of May of 2021. That's when they got hit, going into June, the beginning of June, you know. So the first couple of days of June, like that week right there, that transitional week, that's kind of like when they got hit, you know what I'm saying? So just to give y'all understanding of that. And then you got, let's see here, CWT Global, the U.S. is a U.S. travel service. CWT Global set a world record. And this happened in July 2020. So at this time, they're saying that CWT was hit with the most in a ransomware attack, which was $4.5 million. That happened that happened in July 2020. So, you know, we're in 2021, when so far in 2021, from what we know and research I've done, you had 2 ransomware attacks, you know, just in the month of May alone, and 2 huge companies, 2 huge industries, I should say, were hit, you know, within the United States. And you know, a lot of things, like they say, a simple tip to prevent ransomware. They say, do you know that the majority of ransomware attacks begin with phishing emails? Cyber criminals hide the malware in an attachment that poses as a benign file, like an invoice or a receipt. As soon as the victim opens the attachment, the ransomware spreads through their device, locking files and leaving behind ransom note. By teaching your employees to spot phishing scams, you can prevent majority of ransomware attacks. So that's the same thing when you're like getting these bogus, I know you see like bogus emails in your personal emails. Now, if you don't really know what that is, don't open it, you know, because most times you could just click on it and open it. It don't even got to hit a link or anything. You know, it used to be, you know, you open the email and hit a link, and then bam, now you have you have a virus on your computer or whatever like that. You know, when that's how they were spreading around those viruses. But it's like now you could just open up a weird, crazy email and it might just cause a virus on your computer and everything like that, or lock up your, so you just never know. If you don't know, it's just like someone coming to your residence and you don't know them, but you just straight up open the door wide open and let them see all inside. You don't even know them. You know what I mean? But you don't even say hello, who is it? Nothing. That's just like you just opening the door to to these pirates. You know what I mean? So that's a tip there. Brenntag was hit, and Brenntag was hit too in May. So you had 3 companies so far hit in May. Spyware. In May 2021, Brenntag North American division was compromised by criminal hackers. The chemical distribution company has over 17,000 employees and over 670 sites worldwide. But the damage to just one part of its business, in which 150 gigabytes of data was stolen, caused huge disruptions. The group responsible for the attack, DarkSide, illicitly demanded 133.65 Bitcoin ransom, which equates to approximately 7.5 million, which could have made it by far the largest ever payment. At the time of the attack, DarkSide was already holding U.S. Colonial Pipeline to ransom, having shut down more than 5,000 miles of pipe and stranding gasoline and diesel off the Gulf Coast. But more on that later. After several days of negotiation, Brenntag and DarkSide eventually reached a compromise with the organization handing over 4.4 million in Bitcoin. So man, these cats, DarkSide out of Russia, doing this ransomware attack, man, they have gained some money from what we know right now, just from 3 companies. So far right now, so they're saying if the Bitcoin, if that would have went down, that would equate to approximately $7.5 million. But they hit Brenntag and Colonial 1 month. Then what was the other company they hit? They hit JBS in the same month. So these guys, just in a matter of a couple of weeks, these guys, that's 8.8 million between Brenntag and Colonial Pipeline alone. That this DarkSide, these guys out of Russia. Then you got, how much did they get? So let me see here. And it was 11 million. So these guys got, that is crazy. And within, they hit 3 companies in May and got dang on, oh my God, that is bananas. That is bananas. That is bananas. They got like almost like 20 million. That is crazy, man. Within a matter of a couple weeks, these cats got like, I mean, let's just say they got $20 million. You know, they've been, I mean, that is crazy. That is crazy. Let's move on here. Travelex. They paid out in 2019 on New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve of 2019, Travelex was hit by a ransomware virus, and they ultimately paid out $2.3 million. You know, so while everybody was celebrating New Year's Eve and in 2019, the IT department at Travelex, as they say here, was grappling with ransomware virus that was spreading through its systems. Almost 2 weeks later, the currency exchange service finally restored its internal systems, but not before paying the attackers a reported $2.3 million ransom. Employees were forced to work with pen and paper during this time, delaying severely delaying a few processes that could still be performed, while several UK banks that work with the company have turned away customers who wanted to order foreign banknotes. Unfortunately, that was the only to start Travelex problem. 7 months later, the organization collapsed into administration, in part due to the losses and damages reputation caused by the attack. So by the attack, that killed Travelex. And Travelex, you exchange foreign currency through them and things of that nature. So the University of California at San Francisco, they paid out $1.14 million in 2020, in June of 2020. The University of California at San Francisco caved in after a month-long standoff with criminal hackers, paying a reported $1.14 million in Bitcoin to free the system. The initial ransom demand is thought to have been $3 million, with the university countering with an offer of $780,000. As the negotiations continue, network administrators attempt to isolate the infection and ring-fence a number of systems. This prevented the ransomware from traveling to the core University of California, San Francisco network and causing further damage. Although this protected the parts of the university's facility, including patient care, delivery operations, and COVID-19 work. The University of California servers used by the School of Medicine were encrypted by the hackers. So man, this ransomware thing is crazy, and it's amazing, man. So they're saying like here, and I'm getting this my information I'm pulling from here is from a website pretty much based out of the UK. Governance.com. Itgovernance.com is based out of the UK, and I'm just reading off the things here. And this article was put out on May the 18th through itgovernance .com out of the UK. It's just crazy, and as they saying on the site here, they're saying like 10 billion a year. Ransomware is a 10 billion a year industry. You know what I mean? So this has been going on for quite some time, but I guess when it really started to affect, it really started to affect some major industry and business here in the country. That's when we really start to see and hear about it. As most things, you know what I'm saying? So but moving on from that, man, so y'all look into that. You know what I mean? It's something that, you know what I mean, when you start hearing about a lot of things happening out in the country, man, and just around the globe, you have to want to tap in sometime and see just what is really going on, because when you start hearing so much of a certain news start to seem to become normal, you have to want to tap in and see what's going on, like as I did, when I heard about when I got this the JBS, the meat processing plant out of Minnesota. When I got there, when this came through my timeline, I just wanted to, I was like, okay, wait a minute. So far as I know, I had only known of the Colonial Pipeline. So this one, when I heard of the JBS, I'm like, okay, this is the second one. What the heck is going on? Like, this is seeming like, okay, So, yeah. So moving on, I want to tap in. I talked about about last year, I talked about Asheville, North Carolina. and they were trying to find a way to how would they give reparations for their part in slavery. You know, they wanted to know what could they do, and they were really trying to, you know, see what they could do. The mayor of that city, and different people, you know, different political leaders in that city there. Which Asheville, North Carolina, is a mountainous town, in the mountains, of course, of North Carolina. Beautiful place. If you've never been there, check it out. Beautiful place. If you love the mountains, you hear about the Blue Ridge Mountains and things of that nature, which runs through Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Any time of the year, you know, it's a beautiful time. So I can't quite tell you like when you should go. You know what I mean? It just depends on you. If you know, if you like the drier seasons in the summertime, you know, springtime, wintertime, fall. It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. You should check it out. One of the big highlights there is the Biltmore Estate. You know, quite interesting place. Sprawling, like, I mean, it's amazing. You check it out. But anyway, moving on to getting to the topic here. So last year, you know, Asheville, North Carolina, they was trying to figure out like how they gonna, what could they do, you know, about reparations. Like they want to do something, so they were trying to figure out what could they do. So apparently, they're like now. I'm gonna read it off here. North Carolina, and this comes from WARL.com out of Raleigh here. Raleigh, North Carolina. A North Carolina city has committed to $2.1 million toward funding reparations as an initiative. It began last summer when it joined a number of U.S. cities which has voted to address their histories of racism and discrimination. Asheville City Council approved a budget amendment on Tuesday to pull the money from city land purchases in the 1970s as part of the city's urban renewal. Programs that took apart black communities, the Asheville Citizen Times reported. The City Council also adopted a proclamation declaring June 19th as Juneteenth, the date which marks the end of slavery in the U.S. Yes. Asheville turns to reparations to heal a community breakdown. We must collectively strive to close gaps of immeasurable distance between us and affirm the promise of Declaration of Independence that all people have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, said Mayor Esther Mannheimer. Reading the proclamation, Asheville passed its historic reparations in July 2020, apologizing for the city's role in slavery, discrimination, and denial of liberties to black residents. The city manager was directed to establish a process for gathering reparations to address the creation of general wealth, economic mobility, and opportunity in the black community. There was a question about, well, how will this be spent? What are the projects? Campbell said. We don't know yet. What we do know is that we have asked the commission, once it is formed, to provide us with short, medium, and long-term initiative. So once again, as I did last year, just from I'm gonna run down some things. Just as I did last year, shout out to Asheville, North Carolina, man, for just making that attempt. And there's other cities around the country that are stepping up. I'm seeing something here with Durham, North Carolina as well. Because as you know, Durham, North Carolina was also just like the Black Wall Street. See, I talked about the Black Wall Street long time ago. You know, I've spoken about that story, and that's one of the Black Wall Street is one of my top. I love that story. I love what they did, and it's not just a story. It's a life, a way of life. They took charge and made it happen in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I'm gonna make it to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I heard that a lot of gentrification kind of changed that area there. But I still want to go there and feel the spirit. You know what I mean? Shout out to Tulsa, Oklahoma. You know, never been there, but I can't wait till when I can actually plan it out. I mean, 2020, I would have been down there, you know, but we all know what 2020 brought. So, yeah, you got Durham, North Carolina. You had, if I'm forgetting, y'all please let me know and tap in. And, but you had Washington, you know, Washington, D.C., you know what I mean, where black people would thrive and black-owned, a lot of black-owned business and a lot of black-owned everything, you know what I mean? So it just wasn't Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was Durham, North Carolina as well. And I see Durham right here. They're saying, across North Carolina, Durham City Council passed a resolution last October calling for a federal program of reparations. In April, a panel in the U.S. House of Representatives advanced a decades-long effort to pay reparations to the descendants of slaves by providing legislation that would create a commission to study the issue. In March, the city council in Chicago suburb of Evanston became the first U.S. city to make reparations available to its black residents for past discrimination and the lingering effects of slavery. The city council voters began making good on its pledge to distribute $10 million over the next 10 years, with a distribution of $400,000 to eligible black households. Also, I did talk about that too. I did talk. California was California was trying to figure out their governor was also. So it says here, like, in California, a first in the nation task force met for the first time last week to study and recommend reparations for blacks, part of a 2-year process to address the harms of slavery and systematic racism, despite a lack of action by the federal government. Other communities organizations considering providing reparations include Amherst, Massachusetts, Providence, Rhode Island, Iowa City, Iowa, religious dominations like the Episcopal Church, and prominent colleges like Georgetown University in Washington. So, hey man, shout out to just to make taking those steps. And you don't have to wait on your own government, you know, the top government waiting for DC to do something. That's great that these cities are trying to step up and do something, you know. And it's not about like just let's be clear. It's not about like putting money in people's pocket, because how can you actually? Let's be clear here. How are we gonna actually put a dollar amount on that? So the best thing to do is open up opportunities for business ownership, arts programs, you know. Hey, letting our people giving our people breaks to get into colleges in your cities as well, you know, cities and states as well, regardless of if they're a resident there or not. Letting our people, you know, well, if you're a resident of that state, you should be able to go to that college for a very, very low discount, if not for free. You know what I'm saying? But I'm being realistic when it comes to that. So, but it's just opportunities, opening up those doors of opportunities, allowing us to understand and know those opportunities, and giving courses and classes on how to go about getting these grants and loans out there. Let's stop being so hush mouth with them and open the mouth and let our people know about these different grants, how we can play a part in being part of revitalizing our cities and neighborhoods that we grew up in, so we can turn our neighborhoods into communities that they once were, you know. So big up to all the cities around the country that are stepping up for that right there, man, and trying to make a change and righting the wrongs. Moving on real quick, and I'm not going to stay on this long at all. I want to talk about Kamala Harris, okay? Now, her whole response this week when they asked her about going down to the border, I heard different things. People say, oh yeah, she been down there. But let's be clear here, are we surprised? See, everybody was raving, and I said this on before, and I'm not bashing my black sisters or anything like that. But I'm just trying to be clear because I said this early on. You know, everybody was making this big old thing about, oh yeah, Kamala the first black. But we had to be clear here. She was running for president. She dropped out because she didn't garner the votes. Okay? But then all of a sudden it was okay for her and everybody rallied behind her to be a vice president. But she was running for president. Okay? People weren't feeling her. People were on the fence about her because of the way she was handling business when she was in San Francisco, in California. People wasn't liking what they was hearing. And I read some of the things. I'm not going to go back on it. Go back and rehash it. But I'm just saying, you can look it up yourself. Okay? So her response wasn't a surprise to me when I seen it. It's like nonchalant, you know. And we have to be clear here. She's a vice president. She got to go where they tell her to go. She can't make too many calls like that. She has to go back to the president to make the calls. And there's still a lot of things on the table with that too. And I feel personally like no hate crime should be committed against no person, race, ethnic, creed, color, background, nothing. Nothing. No hate crime should be formed against no one. If you don't like someone, simply stay away from them. You don't have to be ill or nasty to them. But we all have to work around each other. You know, most of us anyway. You know what I mean? We have to work around each other. You know, we can't hide out somewhere and just be in our own bunker somewhere and away from the, you know what I mean? If you have to be out and about and you have a business to run or you working and for some corporation, whatever the situation is, you have to be around the people. You know what I mean? You got to be around the people as you know at some point, unless you're just working behind a computer and doing e-commerce, something like that. Your business is ran by that, and you don't ever have to touch or see the people. But what I'm saying is, when I think about Biden and even Kamala Harris, their whole situation, I'm trying to figure out. So we passed something to protect the Asians, but we're still waiting for legislation to pass that bill to protect our people as well. You know what I mean? So what's up with that? But that's all my time on that. I'm not about to keep hounding and pounding on that right there. But I wanted to shed light on, you know, the things that I've spoken about. And yeah, so as always, man, thank y'all for watching if you watched. And share this, man. Share with your friends and your colleagues and things of that nature, because we have good conversations here. I try to bring good topics to each and everybody. It's all about each one, teach one here. I don't bash anybody. Leave comments below. I encourage that. I don't bash anybody here. Your thoughts are your thoughts. You know, my thoughts are my thoughts. But a lot of times I'm not bringing all of my thoughts to the table. I'm just bringing awareness to certain situations or maybe issues. You know, it's all about seeing the bigger picture and not having that tunnel vision and, you know, getting blinded by, everybody is at this point every time, and this point in time everybody's excited and it's great, everybody's cool, like the COVID restrictions or eased and released and things of that nature. But we still got to be on point. We still got to take care of our bodies. We can't forget that, and we can't forget the people that we lost in that process, and the people and we can't forget the people that were on the front lines making sure the paperwork was getting pushed for people to continuously be in their homes, not lose their homes, not lose their place of residence, not lose a meal off the table, not lose money coming in to help you sustain, we can't forget the people that were still working, helping to push things along, and the people that lost their lives, and we can't remember that moment. We can't forget what 2020 did, and we can't forget what our children were cheated out of, more so were cheated out of their education from not actually being able to be in a classroom functioning. Some students still have not, they missed 2 school years. You understand me? And it's a lot of making up to do. And I say big up to those parents that, that consistently stayed on their children back and made sure that they graduated for 2021, that they got out of there, and they're moving on. And whether they graduated from high school going into college, or they just moved up to the next grade, or they coming out of middle school going into high school. Big up to all the parents who pushed their children. But yeah, that's my time. Until next week, this is Space Invaders TV. I'm your guy Rashawn, aka Looker. Make sure y'all share this page, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you do that so every time that I post something, you get it. And hey man, I'm out, man. Peace and blessings. Y'all be safe.